Hey everyone, Sirturmund here again. Today I'm bringing you a little bit of a different video. So obviously, as you all know, the patch for Legends of Runeterra comes out tomorrow. And today, on Tuesday, we got the 3.2 patch notes. So in this video, we're going to kind of quickly go over the patch note, kind of give you my reactions to some of the changes that were made. And then we'll go ahead and go into some of the new potential new decks. I'm going to give you guys at least 2 decks with each new champion so that you guys can hopefully have something you can try out tomorrow. And then we're gonna go from there. So it might be a shorter video than usual. Obviously, no gameplay today because I don't have access to the early patch. But that way we just can get some ideas of what you guys can all play tomorrow. So let's start out with the patch notes first. So obviously we have patch 3.2. Obviously, right away the patch is gonna bring us A Curious Journey, which is the new cards and the name of the new expansion. Obviously, the new cards, if you haven't seen our reactions to the new cards, go ahead to our profile or go down to the description where we have a playlist called Card Reveal Reactions, where we have short 1-minute videos showing our reactions to each of the cards. So obviously they introduce it to keywords here: attach and formidable. For those of you who are not aware, attach, you can only attach one, like you can only do one attach on a single unit, right? So let's say you have, let's say you have a Pantheon on the field and you attach Yuumi to the Pantheon. If you try to attach, I don't know, the Papercraft Dragon into that Pantheon, your Yuumi is going to bounce back into your hand, and now the Pantheon is going to have the Papercraft Dragon instead of the Yuumi. So just keep that in mind. You cannot do 2 attach in a single unit. Additionally, attach doesn't get affected by like Hush or Minimorph or anything like that. So if they Hush or Minimorph the unit that has an attached unit on it, then it actually doesn't get like the effect from the attach still stays in the field. So in this case, let's say you have a Yuumi attached to Pantheon and they minimove your Pantheon, you're still gonna have a 4/4 mini T because the Yuumi is given a +1/+1, right? So it's kind of weird. It avoids Hush, avoids Minimorph, so just keep that in mind as well, especially as you try to play against this card. And the cards, if they ever die, they just bounce back to your hand. The only way to remove an attached unit completely is to use Obliterate on them. So that's kind of like the only counter to fully remove the unit. So just keep that in mind. And then the other keyword that was introduced was formidable. So the way that it works is that you attack, you kind of strike with your health instead of striking with your power. So for example, if Galio was to strike, he will actually strike the opponent for 8 instead of like 0. The weakness to that is that obviously the opponent can reduce how much damage you do by actually damaging your unit. So let's say you do Galio as it is right now, 0/8 against, try to do single combat against a Pantheon, right? And they do, I don't know, a Mystic Shot or get excited on your Galio. Instead of doing 8 damage, now that Galio, if it's a Mystic Shot, now it's only gonna do 6 damage because it's only gonna do based on the current health that it has, not on the max health. So just keep that in mind as you play with these 2 new keywords in the next few days, just so you get an idea of how it works. If you haven't seen the news, Expeditions is unfortunately going away. I played this mode a lot in the beginning of the game, right? It was a great way to get new cards. I kind of stopped playing it right around the time where they changed it, where you couldn't get champion cards anymore. So unfortunately, bye-bye Expeditions, but I'm hoping that they can use this time to come up with something better than Expedition, right? New challenges, don't care. So this is what we care about, the card updates. So the buffs and the nerfs that we get in this patch. And the first one right away, as you can see, is going to be Ahri. So Ahri is going to go from a 2/3 to a 2/2. And obviously her level up form is going to go 1 health less. Now, that is a big deal because now she's going to be vulnerable to, let's say, like a Mystic Shot, right? She's going to be more vulnerable to something like Bile Feast and Pokestick. Like, if you have a combination of 2 pinks, which usually, will not be bad for the opponent if that happens, because that means you're using 2 cards to just get rid of the Ahri. But the fact that now she's vulnerable to some of that stuff, like Mystic Shot, etc., it's a big deal, though, right? Now she's going to have a little bit more counters than she had before. This nerf doesn't completely kill her, right? Her effect is still pretty darn good because you can still level up and still kind of do all the shenanigans with the whole just striking and swapping, right? So I think it's a fair nerf. I think she's still going to be very powerful in decks like Lulu Ahri, but as you'll see later on, because of another nerf, I don't know if Ahri Cannon will still be a thing. Iceborne Legacy. So Iceborne Legacy is going to go from a 5 mana burst speed to a 6 mana focus speed. And I believe that that's actually a big mistake from Riot. Iceborne Portals were not that strong, and Iceborne Spiders were okay. Like, they were not like a tier 1 deck. So I think they kind of jumped the gun on this just because of the feedback that people got early on in the expansion when this change was made. People were freaking out about Portals, etc. So I feel like this change was a change that they probably did like weeks ago and forgot to just, you know, not put it on the deck. So I don't agree with this change, but I mean, it is what it is, I guess, right? Wounded White Flame goes from a 2/4 to a 2/3. Now, a single point of health might not seem like a big deal because obviously the Wounded White Flame has faded. But I think it is, right? I think it is. You're gonna be able to. You're gonna have a bit more options to be able to block the Wounded White Flame and to be able to remove it in different ways with damage spells, right? At 2/4, it almost had nothing that could like just directly block into it that cost 3 mana. So it was a big deal that it had 4 health. I don't think it's gonna end up mattering that much, but it is a significant nerf that's gonna slow down the White Flame. And then the last nerf, which I think is the biggest nerf of this whole patch, is going to be Kinku Wayfinder. So it goes from a 2/3 that summons 2 different 1-cost allies to a 3/3 that only summons 1 1-cost ally from your deck. Now, I think this completely destroys the card. I don't think Wayfinder is ever going to see play again because of how, like, just summoning 1 unit for 4 mana, it's not worth it. Like, it's not worth it, in my opinion. So I don't think you're ever going to see this card again. Unfortunately, kind of had to die because of the sins of Ari Cannon. So a little bit of a shame, but I guess, you know, that's part of the card game cycle, right? So a little bit unfortunate there that this happened to this card. And that's why I think the Ari Cannon is not going to be a thing anymore. But I do still expect to see Ari in, like, Ari Doodles and stuff like that. So, but yeah. If we scroll further down, I think everything else doesn't really matter that much. You have the region up those. So you have some cool new champion skins. So, ooh, Arcade Anivia. We have Arcade Anivia has a new level up condition. I mean, a new level up animation. Let's actually see it real quick. I still think skins are a ripoff, by the way. I don't recommend anybody ever buy a skin. Don't think it's worth the price. Oh my god, that's actually kind of funny. It is kind of funny, I'll give them that. I don't think it's worth the price. Then we have Misfortune, Arcane Misfortune. Now let's see how this level of condition looks. I mean, this level of animation looks. Ooh, there we go. So that's better than her original level of condition, to be honest. So that's pretty good too. I still don't recommend. I think skins are too expensive for what they give you. Like look, like this one is the Arcade Queen. Doesn't do anything except for like new images for the champion and the Balor, and I don't think it's worth it. Wait, that's such a cute Balor. Oh, that's so cute. 6 Gnar, Hecarim. Yeah. We have a new mat, a new board. And then what we love here is the Guardian. So we have Storm. Oh, that's so cute. Dark Storm. Hector. Okay, this is so cute. Coastal Ship. Whatever. Card backs. That's okay. Bullet Birds 2. Arcade Anivia. Arcane Misfortune. Looks nice. Final Boss. And then the emotes. Wait a second. The emo metagaming. So okay. Eject. Rage mode. Just you wait. I like this one so much. I like the rage mode a lot. And then we have It's Nothing for 6. That's kind of cute. But yeah, that's kind of the path. Oh, wait, actually, usually we always need to check the bugs because sometimes they do some cute bug fixes that actually help the like changes how things look. So fix an issue where Pantheon was getting more keywords than intended on level up. So this is to fix the bug where sometimes if you like summon Pantheon with a level up trash, it will get like double the keywords. So whatever sign, don't care. Fix an issue where Sentinels were getting rough from single combat. So single combat, I guess single combat doesn't count as a removal spell. Interesting. Station Archivist was only placing cards from the top 5 cards to the top of the deck. Okay, so this is a big deal. So Archivist had a bug where whatever spells you saw were placed on top of your deck. So now obviously that fits right here, so that's a good thing. So that fits that bug, and you don't have to worry about like just your spells being on top of the deck. Level 2 Living Shadow was not correctly copying itself. That's good. Issue where Earthshaker was not doubling impact after reaching 4 stacks. Doesn't remember what Earthshaker is. Okay. So I think that's pretty much it. I think obviously, like I said, I don't expect to see Ari canning anymore, but I still think that you're still gonna see some Ari decks around. I don't think that their 2 Aris is not that significant. I think you're still gonna see Win the White Flame in a lot of decks, so I don't think it's a big deal. I think the Iceborne Legacy and the Wayfinder are gonna completely kill both of these cards. I don't expect to see either of these cards seeing any more play after this. Although, because Iceborne Legacy is now 6 costs, maybe we get some fun. Maybe we get some fun Lutz or Jace type of decks that can use Iceborne Legacy now that it's 6 mana card. Possibly, maybe. Well, you know, we don't know, right? It's possible actually. I can see it. Maybe something like with Jace and the the 3-drop, right? Because you can also summon that 3-drop using the other set cast spell. Wow, that actually might not be horrible. We might have to play around with that, so maybe we come back to Iceborne Legacy. But I think Wayfinder for sure is like completely dead. I don't see it anyway. But I'm a little bit disappointed that these are the only changes that we got, especially because they say up here that their next patch is going to be scheduled for March 30th. It's only February 15th. So that means that our next set of like nerfs and buffs is over like 45 days away. That's actually ridiculous. I guess it's less because February is a shorter month, right? But whatever, you get my point. It's like 40 days away. I think considering the fact like these nerfs are not gonna change. Like, I mean, obviously they get rid of Ari Cannon from the meta, and they slightly weaken Lee Sin and Pantheon decks because when the Wifling got nerfed a little bit. But they're not touching some of the things that were huge in the meta. They're not touching like Darkness, right? So I expect Darkness to like be like dominating force a lot of times now. Like, I just don't know. I don't think it's completely going to change the meta. Obviously, maybe the new cards add some spice and that ends up changing things. But you're going to see a lot of old decks still running around. Like Spiders, for example, is going to be huge as well. But anyways, that's my spiel. Stay tuned now for the decks that I'm going to recommend for you all to play starting tomorrow. I'll see you in a little bit. So the first deck I'm going to start with Yuumi decks first. So again, I'm going to give you guys 2 decks for each champion, starting out with Yuumi first. So the very first deck I want to bring up for you for Yuumi is going to be Yuumi Fiora. So I think Yuumi can provide Fiora with some nice stats because she's obviously able to always let Fiora grow. And if Yuumi levels up, which can be likely because Fiora is always attacking usually, then you can also get spell shield on the Fiora, allowing you to kind of go for the Fiora win condition. However, the deck is not just purely about Fiora, right? So I am running kind of all the challenger cards. So this is going to be Demacia, Bando City. That's a consideration that Demacia Target is a lot better. And I am in the edge of that. I do think that is going to be the case. But I wanted to give you guys something more unique because I wanted to take advantage of the Quick Quill, giving us quick attack in our challenger units. Quick Quill, unfortunately, is not from Target, so we're not able to play this in a Target Demacia deck. So since we're going to go with Quick Quill, really what we're trying to do here is take advantage of either Yuumi or Quick Quill on our challenger. So we have our challengers, a Fleet Feather Tracker, we have obviously the Blowing Prodigy, and we have 2 Screeching Dragons. So having these challengers means that we can either put Yuumi, and obviously we have the Fiora, right? So we can put Yuumi or the Quick Quill on one of our challengers, and now they're going to be bigger and also have quick attack, allowing us to kind of pick off the opponent's units one at a time, which can do a lot of value. There's also a consideration that we might, instead of the Duran Sculpture, we might end up playing the two cost challenger, the formidable one. That could also be useful, especially because we are playing 2 Shields of Duran. So, you know, it might actually end up working out better than playing the Sculpture. I do kind of like the rest of this deck, though. Again, at the end of the day, you're trying to win with Fiora. So, you know, if you get Fiora on your mulligan, that's great. If you have at least another challenger, that's even better. Obviously, you have a lot of spells to kind of do a lot of damage. We are playing 3 Pokesticks just as a way to have at least some draw, because that's one thing the Master struggles with, that we don't really have a ton of draw. I like the Shield of Duran on the Fiora or doing it on one of the other units. I do like the Sculpture, but again, it's possible that maybe the 2-drop challenger is a little bit better. The new formidable one, the win. Because I like giving 1 more health to a lot of my challengers. it will let them stay longer. And again, I kind of want to do kind of like a tempo game where I'm picking up my opponent's units with the quick attack, or with my units just being so much bigger, and then set up for like slowly whittling them down and just kind of finish up that way. Obviously, we have stuff like single combat or concerted strike to be able to remove some of the opponent's unit. We have friendship to protect our Fiora or another key unit. And we have golden ages to kind of be able to have a good matchup against the, like the slow decks, control decks. But I do like this Yuumi Fiora version. I might go back and revisit it a little bit. And again, it's possible that the target might be better. But if you're looking to try out a Yuumi deck and want to do Yuumi Fiora, you can give this one a shot and then let me know how it goes. But yeah, stay tuned for the next decks. This next one is a little bit more boring. So I was having a hard time thinking about all the decks Yuumi could kind of go into. I think the problem with Yuumi is that you kind of want to be able to go all into like one win condition, right? We have the Fiora, which will let us get there. And now the other option that I can think of is Pantheon, right? So Yuumi Pantheon seems to be a little bit straightforward. It might be possible that Yuumi ends up being worse than Taric. But I do like the idea of being able to kind of either attach this to a White Flame or attach this to a Pantheon and be able to kind of get a lot of value that way, because continuously being able to grow. And obviously the first attach also counts as a trigger for the Fade. The idea is that you definitely want to have Cinderflame more than anything else in this deck, though, because you definitely need to have that Overwhelm. So whether you do it on the Saga Seeker or the Wounded White Flame or the Pantheon that has Overwhelm, you want to get Overwhelm as soon as possible so that you can start doing damage that way. Cataclysm is in the deck because he allows you to kind of level up Yuumi as well, right? It counts as an attack, which Yuumi requires for you to attack 3 times for her to level up. So the rest of the deck is pretty standard, just super spell heavy deck that you see in Pantheon decks usually from last season. Really the only thing that changed here is the addition of 3 Yuumis. Now, whether this ends up being better than like Taric, it's hard to say, right? Because you lose the pressure of being able to do the Taric plus the double golden ages in a single turn. But again, I do like the idea of Yuumi being able to kind of just make some of your overwhelm units just completely grow out of control through the sheer numbers of buffs that she can give them. So I like this. I like this as a second consideration for the Yuumi deck, although I do think that the Fiora deck might be a little bit more fun than this one. So yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to the next champion. So moving on to the next champions, now I want to kind of give you guys 2 decks with Galio. Now, when I think of Galio, I think I want to be able to kind of cheat him out as early as I can and start working towards this level up condition. And the way that I'm going to do that in this deck, in this first deck that I'm showing you all, is by playing him with Spectrum, Matron, and Cithria of the Clouds. And in addition to that, we're going to do the super greedy version where we're going to go triple mobilize and triple stuck in shadows to be able to pull our combos when we actually need it. So now with triple mobilize, we'll be able to kind of reduce the cost of a lot of our cards, right? Especially the Galio, the Matron, and the Cithria Lady of the Clouds. Those are like kind of key targets that we want to be able to hit with mobilize. Now, it does mean that you're doing almost nothing for the first couple of turns of the game, which is why we play the Darkwater Scourge. Darkwater Scourge into the Warmother combo gives you a 7/7 lifesteal. So allowing you to potentially be able to heal up and be able to stay afloat. Now, I do play 2 Vengeance here, but it's probably better to play 2 single combat because you're able to single combat something with the Darkwater Scourge to be able to kill it. I do think single combat can be a little bit risky though, and I prefer the Vengeance to guarantee that I can get rid of the threat like a Veigar or a Pantheon that might be on the way. The rest of the deck is pretty straightforward how you play a Cithria deck. A Spectrum, Matron, and Cithria the Crowd decks. Obviously, you want to be able to get your combo, right? And the combo is going to be Matron and Lady of the Clouds. And now Galio kind of ends up adding to that combo as well, right? Because he is a summon effect, right? So you could summon him with Spectrum Matron if you have nothing else with Lady of the Clouds to be able to at least give everything 3+3/+3 health and be able to set up for an actual turn when you can just summon Galio manually. Or you can just, like, I think there's many ways. Like Galio kind of gives you more options here in case you're not able to get the Cithria. I definitely think if you want to play this deck, you have to keep Matron in your hand at all times. But you do have the Stuck in Shadows to be able to pull her, if anything. And the good thing is that even though you're going to have a lot of ephemerals because of the Stuck in Shadows and the Darkwater Scourge, you do play triple Warmother, which will allow you to just eat up those ephemerals and keep the stats on the field. So again, I'm trying to cheat out Galio, and this is one of the ways that I think he might end up being successful. But yeah, let's see how the other deck looks here real quick. So for the second Galio deck, like I mentioned, I'm trying to cheat out Galio again. That's what I think of when I think of Galio. So this time around, we're doing it by using Warmother Skull. Now, some of you might be familiar with this deck. It's kind of like the Magwite deck that he made, where he played Demacia fairly with Warmother Skull, except that there's two cards that we added here that I think are going to make it this deck slightly better. So obviously, one of them is going to be Galio. So we took a Train the Mirror for the Galio, which, yeah, means that we get rid of 3 of our 8-cost units. For the Galio, but because we end up adding an additional 3 Gorlev. So Gorlev is a summon effect. So you could summon Gorlev from your deck with Warmother Skull and right away swap your Nexus health with his health and be able to potentially push like lethal damage because enemies with less health than him cannot block him, right? So it could be a great game finisher, a surprise opener finisher that the opponent cannot react to if you're able to put it from Warmother Skull. The rest of the cards that you pull here can be pretty useful, right? So you can pull Tiana on the defensive turn. You can pull the Cithria to double the stats of all your other units. And because you have so much value on the field, it's very likely that whenever you pull the Galio, that he's going to level up really quickly. We play the Trundle here as an early unit that we can play as kind of like a blocker. Because right away, we want to do is probably, we want to be able to keep one of our rank cards, right? Whether Faces of the Old One or Catalyst of Eons or even Bushes of the Old One. Although you probably want to keep Catalyst of Eons or Faces of the Old Ones in the mulligan so that you're able to right away be able to ramp up into a Trundle. Or to be able to ramp up to a Bushes of the Old One. Because this whole point of this deck is you're trying to get to your Warmother Skull as soon as possible, because you can see the rest of your cards tend to be very, very, very slow. You can run in just more AoE to be able to keep yourself alive, as well as flash freezes to be able to freeze the opponent from being able to push lethal damage. The single combat is there as a form of removal once you have at least one of these units in the field. It does this is a little bit weird, but it does give us another 8-cost unit for the Voices of the Old One and for the Faces of the Old One. And it can be used as a way to do like a 3 damage to everything. If you have 8 mana, not enough for Warmother Skull, but you need to survive a little bit more turns, you can just play It That Stairs and be able to deal 3 to all other units, right? So I like this deck. I think this one might be better than the other one with Matron because, again, you want to kind of cheat out that Galio. And this is one of the best ways to do that because you get so much value from a lot of these big units like Cithria, Gorlev, Galio, Tiana. These are all great units to be able to pull from Warmother Skull. So, yeah, I will give this one a try too right away. So now that we got through Galio, let's move on to our our third champion, right? We did Yuumi with the Galio. So now let's do Udyr. Now, Udyr is an interesting spot because by all accounts, Udyr is pretty weak. What he does is not really enough to get us where we need to be, right? He doesn't provide a lot of value, but what I do like is that he's able to give Overwhelm, right? He's able to grant the Overwhelm with his stance. So I figured that one of the best ways that we can do this is going to be Swain Udyr, right? So Swain has already been a couple of decks with Swain Freljord, and I think this could be a way that pushes that over the edge because you're able to grant the Swain Overwhelm, which means that it's a Swain level sub, which is really easy for Swain to level up because of your Avalanche, your Ravines, that you'll be able to push through the damage with the Overwhelm and be able to just completely clear the board. So this deck is more like a control deck with not some Freljord. Obviously, you have like I do have a lot of two jobs, and that's because I want to be able to not die early to like aggro. I do like the fact I do like the combo with the Bolt Pain Wanderer with Udyr because it gives you right away a zero cost stance. So you play Wanderer in either turn 2, 3, or 4, and then play Udyr in turn 5, and boom, you get right away a zero cost spell that you can use. Obviously, the center should be good to allow you to delay. I do like to current keeper. Again, we don't want to die early. We want to kind of set up our late game plan where we can either drop Swain or Udyr in the field and be able to start buffing them up. And obviously, we have the Levy to go really late. In the meantime, we have a lot of AoE, Blighted Ravine, Avalanche. We can do Death Hands, which hits the opponent as well as does a ping to the Nexus to progress the Udyr level up. Although the Udyr level up is not really that important, so don't try to play towards it. You're more just want the value that he gets you from the stances. Maybe 2 Calling Strike might be better in the meta. We'll have to see, but I think this is what I kind of end up liking. I do like the Shaman's Call. The zero cost stance swaps is where they get their power, right? So if you're able to get like a 0-cost stand swap and be able to put some of them on Swain, I think it's gonna be huge. Obviously, the stances as well can level up Swain really quickly. The one that does 1 damage to everything. So there's a lot of different ways here that I like this deck. I think I really like this deck. It might be the first Udyr deck that I try out. And then we'll kind of see how that goes and kind of change cards around there once we figure out, you know, better ratios for things. But yeah, let's see what other Udyr deck we can come up with. The other deck I came up with using Udyr was Udyr Sivir. I was trying to think hard of like what other champions would benefit from like a grand overwhelm. and the only thing I could think of was like, you know, kind of granting a level of Sivir the overwhelm to be able to kind of push that damage through. It's an interesting concept here because we're kind of playing like the Shurima Freljord overwhelm style, but with the Udyr package instead, right? So we have the Sivir Udyr, we have some draw here, we have the Ballplank Wanderer, like I talked about before, with the combo with the Wanderer into the Udyr for a 0-cost stand swap. I do like the Tusk Speaker. It's an overwhelm unit and also deals 1 to their Nexus right away. And the Ruthless Redis is also a really good overwhelm 2-cost unit. So both of these can do a lot of damage early on while also triggering pinging the Nexus for Udyr. The Merciless Hunter I think is fine. I wanted a 3-drop and I couldn't find a 3-drop that was better than Merciless Hunter. Allows me to set up for a pick with the Sivir. Rune Runner, obviously, is our other fragile with this. We can potentially give her like the regeneration stance. That way she's able to regenerate, has spell shield, has overwhelm. So she will be a 6/5 with spell shield, overwhelm, and regeneration. That could be useful depending on certain game states. And then we do want to play the Mammoth Shaman here. I think this one could be a great finisher for this style of deck. That's kind of like an overwhelm deck. I still like the Ancient Jet, and it can present a lot of damage to level up the Sivir. Shapestone is a little bit awkward though. I'm thinking it might be the one that has to cut because you only really have 1 landmark. And then the rest of the cards are kind of ways to potentially keep ourselves alive. And obviously the Shaman's Call because it gives us the 0-cost stand swap, so we can use in the Sivir, or we can use in another unit to make them regeneration or give them overwhelm, right? So like, you know, even we can even give the Merciless Hunter overwhelm if we needed to. Or just give them +2/+2 as well, you know, so it doesn't have to be the overwhelm because a lot of our units already have the overwhelm in them, right? So we can just make the Raider, for example, a 5/3 with tough and overwhelm. So I think there's a lot of options, a lot of potential with using the stand swap on some of these overwhelm units that are on Freljord and the Shurima package. So you know, maybe this ends up being good, maybe it ends up not being good. We'll kind of have to see. But this is the only other idea I can think of on Udyr that wouldn't be like that Gnar or Trundle wouldn't be better at. So yeah, give this a shot and let me know how it goes. Let's move on to Gnar now. So for Gnar, right away, my first thought is gonna be Gnar Gangplank, right? So Pink City, instead of TF, we do the Gnar, and we add some of the Gnar package here, like the Bitsy Lizard and the Teeny Dactyl, 2% some crazy damage. I think this is pretty good in my opinion. So we have the Chemist is really good because if you summon the Scrappy Bomb, you know, it's gonna trigger 3 turns later, allowing you to either, you know, drop a Lizard, drop a Gnar, or Teeny Dactyl right off the bat. Let me do that math right? Because it's countdown 3, so turn 2 is gonna have 2, turn 3 is gonna have 1, and then on turn 4, yeah, it triggers on turn 4. So literally, if you do Chemist on turn 1, then on your turn 4, you can just drop down Gnar or Teeny Dactyl, and they're gonna automatically level at the end of the turn, right? Even if you drop it on turn 2, obviously you can just kind of play around that so that you level them up at the end of turn 5, etc. So the Chemist is amazing. I do like the split of just 8 1-drops, 2 Jagged Butchers. I think 3 is too much. 2 Jagged Butchers I think is okay. We're gonna be hitting the Nexus a lot, hopefully, right? The Bitsy Lizard I think is so many great stats for just 2 mana, especially with a deck like this that you're gonna be hitting the Nexus a lot. It can be a little bit awkward though, because you probably don't wanna. You don't want to you don't want to open attack just to take advantage of this, right? So I think the way that I see the Lizard playing in this deck is that like if you get damage on their opponent turn by either double up, pokey stick, make event, or parley, then you'll be able to just summon the Bitsy Lizard on their attack on their turn, and then be able to just have a big unit that you can open attack with on your full turn for free. I think 2 Dreadway is fine, can come back to make it rain or any of the other stuff. Stone Tackle is amazing, right? It can push some damage early on. Teeny Dactyl, of course, if he can transform, it's going to be absolutely nuts because he's only doing 1 damage every single turn. You do so much damage to the Nexus, that's why I like GP over the TF. And I do want to do 1 Dreadway as a way to potentially, finish the game if the game goes on too long. And then our spells are pretty straightforward, right? 3 Make It Rain, 3 Poke Stick, 3 Double Up. And I like the 2 Parley as a way to either remove their blockers or be able to just, guarantee that I can trigger the damage in the Nexus. Like I said, it could be a play that you do Parley on the Nexus and then do a bit Solicit, right? So something like that on turn 2, like on their attack. So I think this is going to be the most popular Gnar deck, right? Pink City. But I really like, I think it's going to actually be really strong just because of all the value that Gnar provides with the Poke Stick that they create. So yeah, and that's how you get a lot of joy. You got 3 Poke Sticks plus whatever Gnar creates to be able to kind of make up for the fact that the Joker from Vandal City got nerfed. But yeah, let's see the second Gnar deck that we came up with. So for the second Gnar deck, I'm going with Gnar Zoe and Shellfolk, right? So this is a deck that's really kind of being in the meta where you have Zoe Diana, but I'm replacing Diana for the Gnar and adding some of the packages of the new cards like 3 Face Sprout. I think Face Sprout is going to be a pretty strong card because it can give you like a heal, like a, let's say like a, the Ionia 4/2 3-drop that has lifesteal when you need it against aggro, or it can give you a response to other things, right? And obviously, if you play with the Shellfolk, then you get the value of using this card with Shellfolk if you drop the Shellfolk on the field. The rest of our cards are kind of like that. They either manifest or create cards. The whole point of this deck is that you're trying to get a lot of value from Target and Shellfolk and all that shenanigans. Now, it is hard to finish the game. You're probably going to finish the game with like a big elusive with Star Shaping or trying to level up the Zoe. But the Gnar does give you a lot of pressure that you can put in the opponent because you're going to be picking out opponents' units like one at a time, and you're going to be drawing a lot. It's going to be very hard for anyone to run out of resources using this deck, and obviously you can use the prank, etc., to do whatever you need. So I really like this deck. I think actually this deck is going to be very powerful in the meta. Especially now that Ari Cannon got nerfed, like it's going to be a nice return of this type of style where you can kind of grind out the games, right? Maybe we go up to 3 Minimorph if we start seeing a lot of Pantheons, get down 1, reduce 1 Guiding Touch and go to 3 Minimorph or something like that. We'll have to see. This deck does play very slow though, so that's the only downside that he has. But I do like this deck as another Gnar deck. I think he fits in perfectly in this type of Shellfolk with Targon. Yeah, this is looking better and better. I think this is probably going to be the 1 Gnar deck that I play right away. I think this one and Pink City are very close in power, so we'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, I think the next 2 decks I'm going to show you are going to be decks that are not involving any of the new champions, but just more like involving some of the new cards. So starting with kind of the Demacia Starspring that some people have theorized as soon as we saw the Formidable. So the first of those decks that I want to bring again is going to be the Soraka Starspring deck. So with this approach, because of the Formidable keyword, right, it gives us a really nice 2-drop here that can challenge and do a lot of damage. And obviously it's a card that wants to get healed because every time he gets damage, he's losing attack power as well. So the whole idea is that you're healing up your cards that have Formidable. It's said that I kind of took it a different way. I want to, because we lose the self-damage package from Bilgewater by going with this, I want to go with a full challenge package, right? So we're going to 3 Broadwind, 3 Protejets, and 3 Screeching Dragons. This would allow us to force the opponent into trades and damage our own units and then be able to heal them up or buff them up. Because one of the problems that you have is that if you don't have any self-damage, the opponent can just stall and not attack until they have a way to deal with like your Starspring and anything else, right? So this kind of stops them and kind of puts them on a clock because you're always challenging them and taking damage in your own units. Additionally, we can put a lot of pressure with Star Shaper getting really big, as well as the Architect being able to like make the Soraka hit for 6 or 7 if Soraka's leveled up. Or even the Burba Protector, you can make a hit for 7. So the Durant Architect can be really key here. Because actually it's more. I completely forgot that this card gives +2. So this card is really gonna make like our Soraka hit for like 9 if they don't block the Soraka. So the Architect can put a lot of pressure on them, and because he has 4 health, it's very likely that it's not gonna die that easily. So this is gonna be a push. And in this type of deck, I prefer the full, like the Grant health, like the Tiari, the Sunblessed Biggers, etc. And obviously the Shield of Duran and the Acid Protector, because you can put those on like the Broadwind and always grant them. And if you can heal those guys up to full, they're gonna be doing a ton of damage, right? So I kind of like this approach for like a Soraka. I don't think any other champion, no other champion makes sense in this deck. So think it's just a solo Soraka with Starspring and just challenges from Demacia and some other heals. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about Sharp Side yet. I think it is good because it will allow us to potentially block some fearsomes and protect ourselves from some like funky stuff, right? But I'm wondering if it's better to go to 3 Winds of War. We'll have to see. I think Winds of War being slow is a little bit awkward. So we'll have to see if that card actually ends up being playable or not. We'll see. But I really like this concept in terms of like a Starspring deck that we can use with Demacia. But yeah, so yeah, this is one of the decks without any new champions. Let's see that other deck that doesn't have any new champions but tries to play some of the new cards. And lastly, I wanted to bring you an updated Scarground list. So it's a typical Scarground service with triple Scargrounds, but it will play that new card, the Bone Scryer. So Bone Scryer will let you kind of do 1 damage to the Nexus every time it survives damage, and we have plenty of ways to trigger that. This card can get ridiculous pretty fast because now Scarground can do a lot of chip like burn damage between Crimson Disciple, Bone Scryer, Demolitionist, Ember Maiden, etc. And obviously Vladimir, right? This one, now that Ari Cannon is not going to be a thing in the meta, this actually might end up being better because we were able to cut some of the cards that we were using for Ari Cannon, like the Rabin, which the Rabin, while being a great AoE card, is sometimes not great versus for Scarground decks because you kind of want to be able to go wide with Scargrounds, right? And a lot of times our units are going to have less than 2 HP by the time the Rabin comes on the field, unless we have the Scargrounds in the field. So I kind of like this updated version of Scargrounds. If you guys want to try it out, using the new card, the Bone Scryer, and kind of go that route if you want to have some fun against the meta right now. Yeah. Lastly, I wanted to finish up by bringing up 2 decks that didn't get any nerfs and still as strong as ever, and I expect to see them a lot in the meta. So what you're looking for, you don't care about trying the new cards, you don't care about trying the new champions, you just want to win games right away. 2 decks that I recommend are Darkness, so Veigar Senna. So this is the list that I posted a video of a week ago. Most of this is still the same. Probably the only thing that you want to cut is, since Ari Cannon is not a thing anymore, you probably don't need to run the bots anymore. So you can just swap that out for something that will allow your Veigar and your Senna to survive more. Maybe even that new 4-mana card that recalls your unit, actually. So that ends up being even better. So instead of the bots, you can just play the 4-mana card. The name's escaping me, but you guys know what I'm talking about. We're talking about the Transposition. So Transposition instead of the bots ends up being really good because it gives you a way to save Veigar and just replay him right away. Additionally, a lot of your units have a play effect, right? So if you can replay them again, Transposition becomes amazing. So technically, Darkness, I think, got a buff instead of a nerf. Ari Cannon got nerfed, and he got a new card in Transposition that he can use. So you can probably also cut Group Shot and then just play cards that will allow you to kind of counter some of the prevalent meta cards. That's a good thing about Darkness. You kind of have a lot of space to do a lot of different things. And then the second deck that I recommend if you want to just play fast and gain LP is going to be Spiders. So with Formidable being a thing, this gets through all those Galio decks that people might be playing. So you just want to gain LP fast and don't care about having any fun. Then Spider will be my guess. And honestly, this list, it still looks just as good as ever. So again, gave you some new decks and now giving you some all try hard, all true tested decks in case you're the type of person that just wants to climb as fast as possible. Yeah, but anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. I was a little bit different in gameplay today. If you enjoyed the content, please remember to subscribe below. It will help me out a lot. We just recently crossed 200 subscribers, so we're closer to our goal of 1,000. If you like what you see, I do stream on Twitch. I'll probably be streaming when the new patch drops on Wednesday and Thursday, where you can find us at Sirturmund. And anything else that any comments that you want to say or any deck requests that you want us to do, just drop a comment in the video and we'll try to accommodate as best as we can. So anyways, thank you for watching and I'll see you all next time.